What are subtle red flags at a job interview that say working here would suck? I always ask about training and learning curves. Every job I've had that went wrong, I noticed that when that question came up they stumbled. The current job I have, when I asked the question they had sparks in their eyes as they explained the whole process from day one of shadowing to the transition to working solo. And even when COVID hit they managed to continue without skipping a beat. Undefined. They told me all about their generous severance packages. In the initial interview. Turnover City. Well, the overtime isn't mandatory, but most folks stick around after hours most days. Spoilers. The overtime is mandatory. The most terrifying thing is that in any places, the managers won't even need to encourage/threaten you to work overtime. Your coworkers will shame you for leaving early if you leave right when your working time is over. Was interviewed by a senior programmer and the department head. The department head was continuously making condescending remarks towards the other interviewer. Poor guy just sounded broken. Hope he's somewhere else now. On a second interview the general manager brought me into the conference room with his 8 managers present. At first I thought it was a meet and greet, but no. They grilled me for an hour and a half. Didn't appreciate that, along with a couple other things, and politely withdrew from being considered. Couple months later I'm playing in a ball tournament and come across one of the managers. I mentioned how weird that interview was. He says back, quote, "Weird for you? Ha. I found out then and there you were being interviewed for my job. Yep. Dodged a bullet there." Besides always hiring, they seem almost overly eager to say, "Yes, we could do that," to everything you ask. No job will have literally everything you want. And if your gut is telling you they seem to be promising a bit more than they can offer, they likely are. Once an interviewer straight up asked me if I had any trouble working for free on weekends. I told them my free time is more valuable than anything, and that the only way that I would work a weekend is if they are paying me, and if I felt like working a weekend. She got really mad at me and ended the interview right away. Biggest red flag I've ever seen, because they didn't even try to hide it. Since when is it legal to have employees working and not paying them? What a psycho. I was once part of a group onboarding for a job. They handed us all the one-page new hire contract and everyone, except me, signed immediately. When I read the paperwork, I discovered we were signing a mystery document. Clauses included I agree to abide by the personal search and seizure security policy attached. Without other pages, there was no way to determine what I was agreeing to. I kept requesting more and more pages until the hour drone said, "Okay. I guess me is just determined to hold everyone up. We will handle you separately if you're struggling so much." After I walked out and drove home, I called the hiring manager to apologize for not taking the job. He informed me that hours reported I had walked out after refusing to be drug tested. I was asked to sign a contract that gave the employer full access to my medical records. It was supposedly for drug testing, but worded badly. I signed every other page and got the job. Would have been very interesting if they felt like drug testing me, and they weren't able to. Last job I worked. Yay. Everyone here is new. But it's totally because of COVID. The boss doesn't like people going out to get lunch because they're afraid you'll never come back. So being your own lunch. You'll get weird looks if you leave on time. It was a Chinese-owned company with heavy Chinese work culture influence, so you were expected to stay overtime all week. Also, the people here are nice, but it's pretty stressful. Eater. Also was told by my trainer, "You want to know the best advice I can give you? Find another job." This was second week in. "They're afraid you'll never come back" is so funny to me. My favorite is there's a lot of people waiting in line to work here. Count yourself lucky. Huge red flag. After my last job I have learned to take the attitude that in interviewing the job too. I used to think, well, I need a job, and let myself think it was sweet that I was being given the chance. But I have a great work ethic so I always become the man. Supervisors seem to love that term. Well, I've learned that when they say that they mean they are going to heap a lot more work and responsibility on you than your coworkers. So now I go into interviews with the attitude that I can always find another job. So I judge the company now. When they ask out of nowhere, what clients can you bring with you? I interviewed with MetLife Insurance about 20 years ago. They demanded that I provide them with a contact list of no fewer than 100 friends and family. Noped out of that quickly. Sure, it wasn't an interview with an MLM. I had an interview once. The owner of the company told me he was going to hire me, let the man in the office train me, then fire that man once I was up to speed. He also told me that sometimes employees have to hold their paycheck. And the final capper, not that I needed it, I had already decided not to work for him, was he told me I looked like his nephew. I'm female. At my current job, after my interview the manager said back quote, just don't get involved in the staff drama and you'll be fine. It has not been fine. This actually happened to me. Interviewer: do you have any questions for us? Me: what is a challenge this department has recently faced? Interviewer: job security. LMAO, gotta give them props for honesty at that point. He should have just gotten up and opened the door and gestured out. Dude probably about to quit and was like, better save this guy before I dip. A true homie. When you are signing all the forms they give you and you are taking your time to read over every document so that you can fully understand what you are getting into, and people come in and start telling you that you don't need to read this and that just sign here and so on. I was working with an indie game studio as a modeler, texture artist. It was just for fun and making contacts. The game we were working on started picking up traction and had studios looking to pick us up. The lead on the project immediately got together with an attorney and drafted up contracts. Not a problem. I got mine, but there wasn't a rush, and since I had to do regular work for bills, I kind of ignored it for a couple days. The lead and his attorney started bombarding me with emails, telling me to sign it. I replied with, after I read it, I'll let you know. I immediately got a phone call from the attorney, assuring me it was all just standard stuff, and if I wanted to secure my position in the studio, I should just sign it. Red flags everywhere. So when I had time, I read it, and I'm glad I did. It stated that anything I worked on in my personal time, which I did a lot of as an artist, was their property, and I had no rights to even show it. If I left the studio for any reason, I couldn't work in the video games industry for a minimum of 12 months. Even though I was working for free, I was not allowed to take a paid position at any other game studio while working with them. The list went on. I told them I wasn't gonna sign that, and if they pressed I was leaving. They pressed. I left. Find later that the lead started the studio, hired people, then drained the accounts, sold the hardware, locked the doors, and never returned. I didn't know it at the time, but you'll be wearing many hats was a sign that they were going to give me the work of 4 positions and the wage of 1. I didn't last a year there before I left, and now I won't even finish reading job ads that include that line. That's a non-profit motto, if I ever heard one. It's also a tech startup motto. My current boss gave me a great tip on the last interview I had. He said ask them if you can pick an employee to chat with about how they like the position you're applying for. They'll give a better impression of the place than management. I got the job I was interviewing for. I turned it down because the above is the kind of management I want to keep in my life. Also, the place undercut my pay offer, I found out, which is certainly also a red flag.